You're watching Deprogrammed. This is the NCF show devoted to fighting back against the forces of ideological conformity, particularly among the young. My name's Harrison Pitt. I'm a senior editor at the European Conservative, and I'm thrilled to be joined today, as ever, by Evan Riggs, who is a freelance journalist, and our special guest this week, Momus Najmi, a writer, podcaster, and social commentator. Now, Mo, you've written quite a bit and spoken quite a bit about parallel cultures and ethno-religious enclaves in Britain. Right now, we're seeing a crisis in the Labour Party over the fate of their Muslim voters due to the conflict in the Middle East. Do you think it is likely that we will see the emergence of a distinctly Muslim party in the coming years in Britain?
I think so, only in sort of like communal basis, but not really within politics. Unless we get proportional representation, nothing is happening anyways on that score. And also, like, most of this comes from, I mean, I know we talk about Muslims, but a lot of this comes from people who are from Pakistan or people who are from Somalia, all the impoverished sort of Muslim countries.
Yes.
Their people don't number enough to merit any sort of problem. Politically, yes. But socially, obviously, there is a lot of problems.
I see. So you don't think that we're going to see voting explicitly along ethno-religious lines in the next coming years, in the sense of there being a Muslim party, but there will nevertheless be a tendency on the part of ethnic minorities to tack to the left.
There's always been, right? So when you check in what Rochdale, all those places and stuff, obviously they are voting on lines of their, ethnic reality, sort of a thing, and their attachment to the people who are representing. So they vote Labour not because they have an allegiance to Labour, it's because their representation is over there, the people who are there, right? So if let's say another party comes in, they might vote for that party. But even within Rochdale, the majority of people are not Pakistani. The majority of people are white British over there. They're voting for Labour for their Labour reasons, right? So that is a problem, right? But if we go a little bit back, right, to the 1960s, of why these people are actually voting for Labour. So the reason why I'm saying it's not a very Muslim thing as such, it's more of a Pakistani thing, because Pakistanis tend to have been here for a while now. They're within certain systems. They're within your legal systems. They're within your politics and stuff like that. So they build their roots within those things. But a lot of them have still stayed connected to Pakistan rather than to Britain, right? So that's where the problem happens. So in 1960s, I think it's 1965 or 1964, Pakistan in their country towards the Kashmir region, the northern region, they wanted to build dams over there, right? So they flooded over 200 villages in Pakistan. Those people were displaced and they had to be, relocated elsewhere. Labour at that time thought, it would be a good idea to get all these village people, literal village people who could not even integrate into the Pakistani metropolitan cities to come over here and work in the north of England, right? So this is the same Labour Party who's supposed to be pro-working class, right? They got 50,000 of these Kashmiri Punjabis, but they were mainly Punjabis. They're from Mirpur area, like around the Kashmir area, to come over here and work in the factories and stuff like that. 50,000 of them relocated to all over northern Pakistan, northern England. Pakistan, northern England. Yeah, but that's what they did, right? And these people were unlikely to integrate. This is the same region where you have the highest rate of, within Pakistan, highest rate of sexual violence, rape, and on and on and on.
And you're talking about the Maripuri region.
Yeah,
Pakistan,
those Punjabi regions and stuff. So, and the 70 to 80% of the people the Pakistanis that live in England are from those areas, right?
Yeah. I think maybe before we get too deep into the ethnic conflicts inside of Pakistan, we should maybe point out to our viewers why we're discussing Pakistan this week and what is happening in Pakistan now that is likely, just like what happened in Israel and Gaza border a few months ago, to impact Londoners and our kind of British viewing cohort. What is it that's been going on this past week in Pakistan?
Well, they have had the sham elections again, haven't they? So, well, it's a mockery. I don't even understand. Like, personally, like, okay, maybe viewers should know if they don't already know. Like, my parents are from Pakistan. I've lived there for 10 years. I wasn't born there, but I don't see that as a serious country, to be honest. I see that as a country built on stolen lands, and it's funny that they are the ones who cry about Israel all the time, while they themselves are on the lands of India. So it's sort of like, but that apart, they're having elections where they had the army with the help of the ruling party right now had captured Imran Khan on whatever basis, whatever. The thing is, like, he might not be a friend of the West itself, but that's irrelevant to us. To that country, he's a friend to them in whatever capacity, and people chime with him. But because the feudal lords, which you still have in Pakistan, could not have him take control because he has a party for the people. So they sort of like imprisoned him, and he's still in prison. So his party was made illegal as well. So his party couldn't stand in the elections. So every member of his party stood up as an independent, and they still won the votes, right? So it's a miracle because every independent of his party, most of the independent of his party, won their votes. So now they are in like loggerheads with the ruling party who put him in prison because both of them can't find majority because the independents have that much of a majority, right?
Why? Why did everybody vote for these people? If they're
Because
so
people are fed
blind?
up. In Pakistan, people are fed up with these, the party of Nawaz Sharif and, the former Benazir Bhutto's party, the People's Party and stuff like that. They're all feudal lords, right? They want something better for their country, right? And they're fed up of this sort of...
These elite struggles.
Yeah, it's elite struggles, but it's a... From our point of view, we might be in the favor of the people who are going against the elites. But it's not that clear-cut of a situation because most of the elites are the ones who are moderates, religious-wise as well, right? But they're also very, very, very corrupted, like highly corrupted people. They're the ones who take money from the aids that America and Britain give them, like,
They embezzle it and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's so much. So, but the thing is, why should it matter to us? I have no idea.
Well,
I can't answer that. I don't understand why should it matter to us.
Well, I suppose it should, I think the answer, staring us in the face, is that it really shouldn't.
No,
but it will.
But it will, and it completely undercuts the mainstream complacent cosmopolitan liberal narrative that has been abroad in the West for some time, which you mentioned the Labour government in the 1960s. I imagine that Harold Wilson himself was partly captive to this illusion that, Britain is... Heathrow is sort of a magic liberal-making portal, and as soon as people fly through the gates of Heathrow, they become as British or as liberal or as cosmopolitan as everyone else. Whereas what's been proven over the last few decades or so is that people remain incredibly fervently attached to their ancestral tribal loyalties, and rather than agitating for them in Pakistan, they will do so here, and they will derail British politics.
This is the reason why I brought up that 1965 blunder by the Labour Party, is that this is not a decade-old problem. This is not 2-decade-old problem. This is an age-old problem, which was shown in the 1960s, that you get these people in, they are not going to assimilate, because most of them didn't even speak English. They still brought them over here, right, to displace the working class people of England, because there were gaps in there, right? So this has always been the problem. I think so. It's just maybe people are disconnected from who they are in Britain. Not maybe, most likely that is the problem, and they are looking for easy fixes. And nobody really wants to do that much apart from complain about it. There's no action to it. I complain about it as well.
Yes.
But it's not turning into action, because action means you actually have to do something about it.
Yes, and you were saying, you absolutely, and you were saying that we're far too, before we came on air, you were saying that we're, in Britain, we are sort of so far too cavalier and blasé when it comes to devaluing the meaning of citizenship. Would you like to elaborate on that point a little bit?
This has been my main gripe for a very long time, right? So, and people need to understand this, that I am not ethnically British, obviously, as you can see. I have a weird funny accent as well, so people can understand that I'm not from here, right? But why did I come to Britain, right? And from that, I want to explain why are different people coming to Britain, and who should we accept and who should we not accept, who should we give to citizenships to and not to. I came to Britain because I wanted to be British. I didn't come to Britain for economical reasons. I mean, you would be an idiot to come to Britain after 2000 for economical benefits, unless you're that dirt poor, right? Because
I came from Canada, so it's actually been really good for me.
Yeah. So if I actually wanted to move for financial reasons, I would have gone to America, and I have family in America. Because over there I would have earned more, I would have done more and stuff.
But then you have to live in America.
Exactly. That's why I didn't. But I came over here because I was associated with Britain way before I came to Britain, right?
How so?
I read history a lot, and I because when you are in Pakistan, so I lived in Pakistan for 10 years from the age of 15 onwards, and you're sort of told to hate Britain, right? But if you're a curious mind, you would look into it, and then if you have a sensible mind, you would say, well, I can't find enough reasons to hate Britain, but what I can find is a lot of reasons to admire Britain, right? So you, as a country, are complaining about British colonialism. That's a small freaking island that conquered over you. You should be ashamed of yourself, right? And there's a lot to admire of a little island people conquering the whole world. It's like, what can you not admire about that? And not just that they have given the world everything that we have in the modern world has come from that, right? From England, mainly within Britain, from England it has come. Right? So I didn't understand how can you hate, but that was the same reason why I left Islam as well a while back, because Muslims indoctrinate their kids to hate Jewish people, right? And not more so, like Pakistanis are the worst with that. Every single problem that they have in their country is because of the non-existent Jews that live over there, right? So everything is to do with Israel for some reason, right?
Yeah.
And whatever my makeup was as a person, I just wasn't inclined to hate people whom I have never met, never interacted with. It just didn't sit right with me. And my own childish interpretation of Islam at that time as well was sort of like, well, it seems against the core of the message of Islam that you're trying to give, right? But obviously I further found out that the reasons why I left Islam was because that is the core of the message. It is a warmongering ideology. But apart from that, I left Islam because one of the main reasons was because they kept on telling me to hate Jewish people. And when you look into it, it was like, well, but these people, against all odds, keep on achieving good things. Keep on overachieving. Why should I hate them? Right? So that's the same reason why I love the Japanese as well. You drop 2 nuclear bombs, and within 50 years, they're there.
Yes.
Better than all their neighbors. Like, how can you hate such people? It doesn't matter if their ideology is
Does that
not
also
something.
apply to the Germans, even though they didn't get nuked?
I don't think so. They achieved anything.
The Germans?
Yeah,
fourth biggest economy in the world.
Look, I don't think so. Having economy, or good economy or stuff like that, is an achievement, right? That's because of where you are, your happenstance, or what decisions that you've made. But if you look in Germany, if you go into Germany and work in Germany and stuff like that.
I lived there for a year, which is why I ask.
So the thing is, over there, people are following orders, right? There's very less innovation going on over there. And that tells me it's not a success. Compare that to Japan.
Very innovative.
Exactly.
That's a good point. It's interesting.
Right? Anyone can follow orders, and Germans are good with that, aren't they?
That's very true. And giving them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So
I digress.
No.
I don't know where I went with what I was saying.
Can I ask you what might be a provocative question? So I'll tell a little story here first to get to that. When I first came to the UK, I was not aware that it's frowned upon here to carry a knife on you. I always carried a pocket knife on me since I was 15.
Yeah.
Like my dad gave me my first one. I used to be a firefighter and a bartender, so I used it every day. I carried a knife on me for I guess it'd be 13 years straight, every day. Came to UK, was carrying a knife, had an incident where I was at the airport. Obviously, you can't fly with it wherever, but like, they were like, oh, no, not only are we going to have to take this, like, you're going to have to speak to the police.
Are we talking about a pocket knife or
yeah,
sort of
like
a kitchen
pocket
knife?
knife? It wasn't like a giant machete. It was waving around in Heathrow. No, just like a little pocket knife.
That's something I would be doing.
Yeah. And I ended up having to go into this room with these like 3 police officers, and they're like, don't worry, you're not in trouble. We have to like go through the procedure or whatever. And they gave me this like identity card, and the cop literally was like, I identify as white British. How do you identify? And I like looked, and there was like 40 different things on it. It was like gypsy, Irish traveler, white British, all this stuff. And I was like, I would say I'm like white Canadian. You know, and I didn't see that, so I was like, white, and he's like, great, and checked it off. Just because we're kind of jumping all over the place here, and I think that identity and ethnicity is very important in this conversation. How would you identify yourself today, like living in Britain?
British.
If I gave you the card.
I would Asian British. Right?
Asian British.
So there's a reason, because I do not like Pakistan, right? So if it is my heritage, I understand the point of like, you know, where I've come from. But I wasn't born over there, and I'm not I never assimilated into their culture, right? And that was the main reason as well why I left. Like, I don't think so it's mutually beneficial to live in a country, whether you agree with them or not, if you're not accepting their culture. Whether we say like Pakistani culture is not good or bad, but it's their culture, right? So if I don't assimilate into the culture, I don't think so I have a right to call myself Pakistani, right? So just because of my ethnicity doesn't mean that I'm a Pakistani.
Okay. So the reason I asked this is because when we had Andy Ngo in here, the race riots in France were just happening. And I tried to make the point to Andy where it's like, I think it's very hard on the people who like want to move to France from wherever and be French, but who's kind of like co-ethnic kin or people who be roughly lumped into their same identity category are causing all these problems, because they're like, I just want to go along to get along. I just want to contribute and be a part of Britain. Do you find that's like actually offensive to you when you see these kind of things and you get lumped in with it?
I find it frustrating, but not for myself. But I get angry at British authorities rather than myself, because who is allowing them to come over here? Not me. Right? It is our liberal elites who have lost a sense of themselves who are allowing them, right? So this is that message that I want to put across, that we need to divert our anger and our frustrations towards where the changes can be made from, right? It's not going to be, look, okay, let's go even deeper, right? All of the problems that we are seeing right now, they are symptoms, right? Mass immigration problem, crimes from them, Islamism, Marxism, all of these problems, the can't get doctor appointments, whatever, these are all symptoms, right? And we are going after them all the time, right?
Without curing the root cause.
The root cause is the loss of British traditionalism. That is the root cause. We have a set of people that we are saying is a nation. A nation is not a nation unless it knows itself, unless it is rooted in something and everyone agrees on what it is about, right? This is the disjoint that we're seeing in America as well, where they can't even agree when it was made independent, right?
Well, yeah, the Super Bowl was last night, and I was like, they've got a black national anthem. You can't have a country with 2 national anthems.
No, and what are we doing now? In BBC, we're putting out these messages that, the black people were over here, always here, whatever like that. You are disrupting.
Building Stonehenge.
This is exactly. a slightly potentially controversial point, but like, to what extent are we, like, by putting all of our eggs in the assimilation basket and saying that there needs to be much more of an emphasis on assimilation, it seems to me, Mo, that like you are a very unique case. You are someone who has, as it were, flown the perch of your tribal ancestral identity and have opted into a new one, and that's a very rare thing. Like, most human beings don't have it in their power to fly the perch of their tribal identity.
And then they should not be given citizenships otherwise.
But I suppose the point is that because one point that you've made before, and I think it's completely correct, is that so long as Pakistanis live in parallel communities in this country, they will hold views and allegiances that are just completely abhorrent to those held by native Brits. But is it even possible to do assimilation on such a vast scale, given the inherent tribalism of human nature?
No, the thing is, we don't need to, right? So we should have a project of assimilating, integration, having to speak the language and whatnot.
Yeah.
But you cannot go into people's mind and change their mind, right? Okay, now let's take it away from Pakistan and even
more broadly.
Check France, right? Well, France, sorry.
Oh, France.
Check France. If someone has a dual nationality with France, right? So right now they might be saying, oh, it's okay to have a dual nationality with France, but Britain and France have been at war for 1,000 years. It's not a friendly country to Britain itself, right? Historically. So how can you have competing, sort of loyalties to it? So the problem happens is, regardless of assimilation and integration or whatever, we should have a policy of no dual nationalities. So we have to go on the root causes, what is causing these problems, not just because Pakistanis are causing problem right now, we're talking about it. This should have been talked about regardless of anything.
I completely agree with you. So there's a
right. So we can give people, because a lot of people say, when I say this, I always have this point that people are saying, oh, but I have a nationality from Denmark, and there's a friendly country. It's like, now, right now,
what if there's a conflict in 100 years,
And it's a different situation, because if Britain goes weak, right, we have a separate situation now. We have different enemies now. We have enemies who want to conquer us. In Islam, we have an enemy who wants to conquer us.
All countries and all host populations have a vested interest in making sure that not too large a proportion of their population is semi-citizens. You want people to be full citizens. And if I could just make one very quick point, T.S. Eliot in one of his books, one of his lesser known works, it's called Notes Towards a Definition of Culture. He actually gives a very useful definition of integration. He defines integration as a process whereby new members entering into something become completely indistinguishable from the old ones. And so a really good test of whether integration has taken place is whether you notice any significant differences. So for example, liberals will talk about how we've always been a nation of immigrants. Look at the Huguenots. The question I always ask in response to that is, where are they? Where is the Huguenot community? Where are the demands for more Huguenot actors? Where are the demands for more Huguenots to be represented at the BBC? It's precisely because they have assimilated and become indistinguishable from the original members. There is no sort of Huguenot Brits. They're just Brits, and they've assimilated into the majority, and therefore that it doesn't cause any ethno-religious strife or anything like that.
I think so. The thing I would add over there is, when people look at integration, assimilation, or even what it means to be British, right? Because that question gets asked. What is being British anyways? We're looking at aesthetics. We're looking at how a person is dressing, what they're eating, because these are the things that are coming up. How you dress doesn't make you British. What you eat doesn't make you British. Whatever, how you fart doesn't make you British, right? These things don't make you British. Being British or of any nation is a disposition. Whether you have a disposition, your spiritual disposition, does it belong to that national identity or not? So you are inherently, you have an inherent disposition towards a particular nationality, right? So we can have every kind of English person being English, but being very different from each other. From the people in London to the people in Bristol to the people in Cornwall to the people everywhere, right? But they have an inherent disposition to be of that country. It's not the way that they dress themselves, the way that they speak. That doesn't make it.
Can I just to drive the precision on the definition, because I think it's a useful one. Could you expand a little bit on what you mean by disposition? Because one potential problem I see with that is that let's go into an important period in British history, the Civil War. I mean, people were incredibly divided at that time, and I think it's fair to say that Oliver Cromwell and Charles I had incredibly different dispositions at that time, ideologically speaking, religiously speaking, constitutionally speaking, politically speaking. Yet they would still both be British, or in that context, I suppose England would make more sense to call them both English? Like, is it possible, I suppose what I'm saying, is it possible purely to locate identity in terms of the values you hold? It seems to me that it's something a little bit more immediate than that.
I think it's your nature. Like, and that nature is so inherent, built up, like, because even when people are politically in opposition to each other, they will still have a nature to them that would be inherently of that country, right? So even when you have that big of a conflict between the left and the right, when you just take out all the other ethnicities, but only talk about the native population, right? If you take out the politics away from their mind and you sit them in the room, they will act in similar ways.
Yeah, this is why I talk about Singapore so much, is because you only have to get really litigious when all those sort of baseline assumptions have been worn away, as the Americans are now learning.
And that's on a lesser scale.
Yeah. One of the questions I'd like to ask you, going back to Pakistan, is I've got these numbers in front of me that I was reading right before the show. And I want to ask, why do you think that there's so many more Pakistanis? Based on this, which was year of arrival in the 2021 census, there's 1.57 million Pakistanis in England. There's 17,000 in Wales, and there's 49,000 in Scotland, 1,500 in Northern Ireland. Why is it England? Why is everybody coming to England?
That's why I brought up the 1960s, because we invited them over here, right? So the Labour Party invited 50,000 people from a particular region to come over here, which means their future generations are going to come over, or other people around that area.
They will go to where there is already a setup.
And that's why you see the population of Pakistanis, not just Pakistanis, okay? So if we talk about Pakistan is not an ethnicity, like I was talking about before. There are various ethnicities within Pakistan. So these people who are mostly in the north, and which the Labour brought, they were from Punjabi ethnicity, right? That's why if you go in the north, most people think the national language of Pakistan is Punjabi, but it's actually just it's just the mother tongue of one province.
Yes, Urdu is the national language.
Urdu is the national language, which there's a lot of Pakistanis who don't speak Urdu as well. You know.
So Enoch Powell would be more Pakistani than them in that case, because he did speak Urdu and used to converse in Urdu with some of his Wolverhampton constituents.
That's the thing, like especially if you go in the north of Pakistan, some of them, like, they speak Pashto and they might speak English. They don't speak Urdu.
The reason I bring this up is because,
this is the reason why I'm saying, like, they're here more, is because we invited them in hordes to come over here, and they are living in places which are not that similar to their climate as well, to their environment as well, because they only came over here for economical reasons, not because of the love of the country.
Right, and they haven't spread, so it doesn't matter if actually you invite a bunch.
Why would they? Because they can build their tribe, right? So they can build their tribe
and consolidate.
Yeah.
So
human nature.
Exactly.
And they are from tribal areas, right? So these people are from those tribal areas, and they go back. How they're maintained is a lot of these peoples have not integrated even through marriage within England, right? So they go and get their wives from Pakistan. And you see how
you get a process of chain migration.
I get it, but the point I'm trying to make is these people have been here for 60 years and they haven't even gone to Wales, really. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I must confess, I've not been to Wales.
I have also not been to Wales, but I've only been here for 15 months and not 60 years. And so I'm saying is, like, you get these pockets, these enclaves, let's say. And what I want to do is I want to make a parallel to Pakistan, because you have these different ethnic groups and different enclaves throughout the country. And what I want to ask from your personal experiences, if you are, let's say, 5% of a country, 95% of it is very different from you, even if you're still part of the same country, that 5%, does that sort of intergroup identity, interethnicity, that becomes much stronger, doesn't it? It becomes a diamond under the pressure. And I think that's very important for people to understand. And again, the Canadians are actually learning that now, because they've imported a lot of people in the last, let's call it 5 years. And now they're having issues, much like it's been happening.
And one of
the
natural results of that as well is that counterintuitively, perhaps, despite the fact that these people their GPS location is Britain, they're probably more fervently Pakistani, partly as a result of that diamond-making process that Evan's talking about, than actual Pakistanis
living in Pakistan.
But this is a very important point, actually, because when I was growing up, like, my parents would always say, or people around me would always say when we were in Karachi that people, the Pakistanis who are in England are more Islamist
Yes. Yeah.
than the people in Pakistan, because or more outwardly like Pakistani, but people in Pakistan used to make fun of them because they would come with these fake accents that they have assimilated with, right?
Yeah.
Which is not neither English, neither, I don't know what the hell that accent is anyways, but they're not saying anything of substance. They're just going after aesthetics, which I was talking about, because if you don't understand the spiritual disposition of a nation, you are only going to assimilate to the aesthetics of a nation and think yourself as
it becomes a pastiche. It becomes
it's nothing, like, it has no substance to it.
It's
right?
just a barber jacket.
And you're
just
for 300 quid.
Exactly. So these people were more extreme, became more extreme, maybe because also they were apart from their country, right? And they wanted a connection. So you can understand that as well. And I have to say, like, not all Pakistanis are bad. Like, we have to put these caveats in, because I would have to assume that I am bad as well, right? So I am myself an example that not all Pakistanis are not the same. And that's because people probably don't know that there are so many varying ethnicities in Pakistan. They speak different languages. They have completely different cultures. They interact with the religion very differently as well, with Islam itself. They associate with Pakistan in different ways, right? So, but we have one majority ethnicity of Pakistanis in England, and that is people from Punjab. These people, like, now obviously people who are from Punjab are gonna say I'm racist anyways, because there is a problem between my ethnicity within Pakistan, which is the Muhajirs, who are literally translated as migrants who came from India at the time of partition. Our language is Urdu, actually. Our mother tongue was Urdu. So there's a conflict between the Muhajirs and the rest of the Pakistan, especially with the Punjabis, who Punjabis still call Muhajirs Hindustani, meaning from India. They still haven't accepted them, right? So people might say, like, I'm being prejudiced against Punjabis, but you only have to look at the numbers of the crimes committed, the kind of crimes committed within Punjab. They are the top rank. Them and the Sindhis are the top ranking ethnicity within Pakistan when it comes to sexual offenses and stuff.
Why? Why is it different?
Well, I think so that has to do with their tribal problems and stuff. Because so there was a case. There was a case a while back of this woman within a tribe, and this is with like those Kashmiri sort of tribes as well, from where people have come, right? So she, like, there was a disagreement with her brother, right? This tribe had a disagreement with her brother. They took her brother somewhere. They raped him, right? Gang raped that a boy. He was like 12 or 13 years old. And then they said that, and this is a very, very famous case. Wait, let me check if I have the name somewhere. It's such a famous case of something. I think so, I might have it somewhere. But either way, like, no, some other. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Right.
But what happened was, like, they had a tribal disagreement with each other, right? And they raped that boy. That boy filed a case against them, right? So they said he was having an affair with their daughter or someone from their tribe. So even though they raped the boy, they started blaming him for. There was nothing like that happened. But they said they have already established that tribe that had happened. So what is in their tribe is that if you do them wrong like that, then they are allowed to rape your woman then, right? So they took his sister and they gang raped her when she went to fight for the case in the tribal courts for her brother. They raped her then and there. They took her to a hut and they raped her, right? And then she filed a case against them. And this was such a stigma in Pakistan that it was during the time of, I think so, General Musharraf as well. He tried to hide it. The president tried to hide this news from coming out because he didn't want it a bad case, Pakistan, right? People can look up this case in more in detail. I'm not remembering it properly, but it shows the mentality, the tribal mentality of particular areas, right? Where rape is are normalized as a justifiable punishment for doing something wrong, even though the person that you're raping is just guilt by association.
It's a weapon in tribal blood feuds, basically.
Exactly that, right? And
which are endemic in that region.
It's not just associated with Punjab. It's associated with a lot of Balochis as well. They do it, and in Sindh as well. That happens. The thing is, you don't get that many statistics coming out of Balochistan. That's why you think like maybe Punjab is the highest crime rate. But the thing is, whatever the ethnicities in Pakistan, there is a general problem with that.
And it's one of the things that I find ironic about it is that there's such an emphasis in our educational system today and on being cosmopolitan, on being interested in the world and being global. But in fact, like the next generation of, let's say, SOAS graduates, people coming out of SOAS thinking that, oh gosh, I'm so interested in world culture. They won't know any of this stuff. They think in their clumsy categories of like brown subaltern, like black African. They think in these these categories completely mask many of the divisions which exist within those communities. Whereas what the kind of people like Sir William Jones, who was in India looking at artifacts, and even people like Enoch Powell, who was incredibly interested as a scholarly matter in the subcontinent, they will be dismissed as patronizing Orientalists and racist, but they would have known far more about the intricacies of these cultures than many of the people who profess a kind of fake virtue-seeking cosmopolitanism today.
Why does that happen? Because everyone in Britain is taking information about Pakistan from people who are over here, including myself, right? So
yes, why should we trust you?
Exactly, you shouldn't, right? But that is the point. We're taking like, okay, I have disowned Pakistan from my own life. That's something else. But why should we take the word of people who are invested still in their Pakistani identity about what Pakistan is? Why would they tell you about any of these things? Right? Why did the president try to hide her case? Yeah, it's not malicious, it's just instinctive. Right? So if there's something wrong, like Brits are very unique in pointing out their own bad things prominently. Not many countries do that.
There's a culture of self-criticism.
Yeah, exactly. So we won't be able to, we will admit if there's something wrong has happened eventually. You know, as it happened when the time allows, right? But instinctively, no one else would do that if they are still that much invested in their own national identities. You know?
Sort of the tribal allegiance comes before the openness.
I want to ask you a very controversial question, and it's based on a BBC report, in case anybody wants to call me a conspiracy theorist or extremist, from a few years ago, stating that 55% of all marriages in England between Pakistanis were
cousin marriages,
cousins.
Right?
This is something like when I tell Americans or Canadians or people who are not from Britain about the rape gangs, they literally look at you as they're like, you've finally lost it, Evan. You've gone beyond the pale. And I'm like, no.
Sort of
that actually happened. That's very, very real. I'm not making this up. The cousin marriage thing, again, is actually acknowledged.
65%, not 55.
Whatever the number may be, you would know better than I. But this is acknowledged by the BBC. This is acknowledged by the government.
Acknowledged by Pakistan itself. So
exactly. I have not a large amount of experience, but probably I would say more than your average sort of Canadian immigrant about the Middle East. And it is a problem within the Middle East that people will talk about. And I wonder, there's two questions to this. A, how bad is this problem in Britain? And B, why is it that despite the fact that this is acknowledged by the government, mainstream outlets, governments within the Middle East, all these different things, does even the right within the UK shy away from it?
I think so. It's just uncomfortable questions, isn't it? Like people, over the years, people have given merit to being comfortable and avoiding discomfort in conversations, right? And this is another root of our problem. We just don't want to talk about these things. We rather push them under the rug, let the next generation deal with it, or let's just not talk about it. Like they'll just turn liberal eventually. And that sort of attitude is there. So the cousin marriage problem happens in Pakistan and in the Middle East because the religion allows it. right?
Well, Muhammad married his cousin, didn't he?
Exactly. Oh, he married a lot of people, right? So he married a 6-year-old girl and consummated his marriage with a 9-year-old, but we're not supposed to talk about it. So not a model character, right? So, but the thing is that it's allowed within Islam. And little digress, the things within the Quran that are written, if you read the Quran, it's not in chronological order as it's written. It was compiled after the death of the Prophet. So they mix and match those things, right? So, and the Quran is the direct revelation of what Muhammad was saying, so people were writing down. So this is not like Bible when other people have put their thoughts in and told the stories and stuff. This is the literal
it's unity.
revelation.
It's a unity as a word.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but they when they compiled the Quran, they didn't compile it in chronological order. But when you read the Quran and understand, like before a surah begins, what was the things behind, what led to that surah was always something that he wanted to do himself, and lo and behold there would be a justification for it, right? So if he wanted to marry his cousin, there would be a justification for it, why Allah says it's okay to do it, right? So that's why it is in Quran, like these sort of things. So when it is allowed in religion, I don't think so you can blame the people that much if they are deeply religious or they are conservative, they believe in their religion. I don't know how much you can blame the people for following the edicts of Islam itself, because if they question it, because it's a literal word of God, it's not even like an interpretation, right? But in the modern age, to be fair to Pakistan, there's a lot of charities within Pakistan that are working for it, and they're trying to tell people, like, this is not good. You shouldn't be doing
I
this.
really want to make the point that like this is not considered a controversial, behind the pale topic within the Middle East, because people, I mean, back in the day, people didn't realize like this will like fuck up your bloodline essentially. But now, I mean, you can even look at like Iceland, which has, because it's such a small kind of interconnected country, they've got this app.
Right.
This is going to be something that has to come to the Middle East to stop this practice. So the point I'm really trying to make is like, this is not considered an egregious topic within the countries that we're talking about.
Yeah, but
in Britain,
which
nobody will point it out.
Which pockets within Middle East is not an aggrieved topic? The educated class, right? The ruling educated or the elite class, they don't have a problem with bringing this up because they want to move people away from it. The same thing happens in Pakistan. In Pakistan, most of these charities and stuff would be in Karachi or Lahore, Islamabad, like the three big metropolitan places where people are more educated, people are more aware of things, people are more moderate. That's why I didn't see cousin marriages around my family, right? That never happened. Very thankful for that. That I could maintain my IQ levels. But, it's because we come from, like, it's the environment that you come from, right? And the same thing, like why people around me in Karachi when I was growing up would find rape gangs abhorrent, like absolutely abhorrent. And these are all Pakistanis, right? They would not agree with this at all. It's because of the people in Karachi are different to the other kind of people. People in Lahore would not agree with that as well. People in Islamabad, these metropolitan areas where people are more educated and more aware of it, right? They're the ones raising from it. Again, I bring up that point of 1960s. What kind of people did we bring in England?
People from that region,
exactly,
primarily.
So why would they oppose cousin marriage when it is their custom?
Can you? You didn't see it within your own family, but can you elaborate on how this topic is dealt with within Pakistan and the effects that it actually has on people if you marry your cousins for a couple generations?
I didn't know this was a thing till I came to England and saw these topics.
That
is
that is a headline in itself, isn't it?
I wasn't aware. I was aware that people marry their cousins and stuff. Obviously, I had some friends who were like, who had a big family name and stuff, and they kept it in the family or whatever. I always found it out, like, and I thought like these people are very far and few. So I wasn't even aware there's a concern. Same with the rape gangs and sex whatever crimes that they're doing. I wasn't aware that this is a thing that Pakistanis usually do. At least the elite class don't do it because it wasn't, and I wasn't aware that it was so endemic within the Muslim societies, Syria, Iraq, Pakistan, Somalia, and those. I wasn't aware. I thought like this when I was a Muslim. I thought that this should be against everything that Islam stands for. But again, like you start knowing about your own religion, then you understand how it like justifies it. But even if we link something like that to, because this is why I'm saying like some of the things are ethnically related, some of the things are religiously related. That's why I'm bringing other ethnicities around with it, with Syria, Iraq, and Somalia.
And it's a point that's often missed for people who just want to talk about Islam in Britain.
Yeah.
You need to go into more subtle details.
Deeper, right?
Yeah.
So, in Finland, so I have a friend, Antar Yasa. He's a Finnish journalist. He has been suspended indefinitely from Twitter, right? He was revealing Islamist activities within Finland. Their Islamist mosques and stuff. People might not know that the highest rate of ISIS fighters are from Finland, right? They are the ground for creating these extremists, and he has been revealing them again and again. He revealed this guy. He was some sort of toy smuggler who was smuggling toys like getting money from people, aid money, and smuggling toys to the Syrian ISIS people and stuff like that. And he revealed the whole thing against him. He only got jailed for 2 years, and then that guy countersued my friend, and he had been dealing that for 7 years because he said, "You're defaming me as an Islamist." And the Finnish court said, "Yeah, you're defaming him.
Yeah.
Pay him 10,000 euros, right?" He had to pay 10,000 euros to the terrorists, right? The reason why I'm saying this is what this guy was telling me, that there are pockets of people that are coming from Syria and Iraq, and there's 5,000 girls that they have raped and groomed.
In Finland.
In Finland.
Finnish girls.
And nobody knows this, right? Not many people know this outside of Finland, that there's a sex grooming gang Muslim sex grooming gang within Finland, right? And those are mainly comprised of people from Syria and Iraq, mostly from Syria. I think so. There is now people on the face of it would say like it's Muslims only, but something else makes me think maybe it's a more ethnicity, because if we go way, way, way far back, when the Islamic colonization of India happened, when Muhammad bin Qasim came with his army and started conquering India through the Sindh province, he came with 6,000 soldiers. Those 6,000 soldiers were from Syria, right? So is it like ethnically something within the Syrian Arabs or something like that they are more, prone to doing that, because those are the same people who assimilated into the Indian culture and then became Muslim and stuff, and then eventually that's where the Pakistanis and stuff, a lot of them come from Syria and Iraq, way, way, way far back, right? There could be a connection.
It could be a connection.
No, like it could be just a conspiracy theory, but we have to acknowledge two things, that there's because it happens within India as well, right? So this is not just a Pakistani thing. The rapes and the level of malevolence when it comes to rape, because they try to relate rape to, there's more white people that rape over here. Obviously, there's more white people. Like the likelihood of that happening is always going to be more, right? But what they are committing is not rape; it's systematic.
And people are in on it as well. It's not just not that it makes it any better necessarily, but it's not one person, one lone wolf acting as a rapist. It's sort of the whole family is in on it. The whole family is rubber stamping it, and the family would hide him and protect him from the police.
And then there's lawyers as well. That's the thing as well that we have a problem with, like these Pakistani lawyers who are getting these people in who are illegal or who have committed these crimes, and they are hiding their crimes, right? So there's a whole system of things going on. There's so many things that you have to figure out within it. But underneath it is the religious aspect, that in a weird way, Islam allows it. Right? Islam allows you having sex slaves, but it allows it within a war scenario.
Yeah.
But then when you if you in your mind you say like, oh, we are in a war constantly, then you can justify things like that. So if there is a religion, like again with the cousin marriages, to your question where I diverted so far away, but
it's part of the point. Part of the point of this show.
When Islam allows it, I don't see how you can, because they're doing these charities are doing these things within Pakistan as well. They're trying to push people away from these backward sort of ideologies. I always have the same problem with them. It's like how far you can convince people. The only way that you can convince them is if they knowingly disobey God.
Yes.
And again, I'm just going to basically make the same point again because it kind of astounds me within the Western tinged conversation on this. It's like people people will say about this conversation like this is Islamophobic. It's like I literally know devout Muslims who look at these problems and are trying to stamp it out.
Yeah, my parents included. Yeah.
Like these are not sort of infidels or expats or heretics or whatever. People who are in these countries who are devout Muslims.
Yeah.
Who understand that this is an issue and are trying to do something about it.
The problem we have in this country, and one of the reasons why I suspect it's easier than it is here to make an issue out of it and to be public about it, is that in Britain, like, whether we like it or not, and it's really unfortunate, I don't like it, but any kind of minority status, whether it's we're talking about racial minority, ethnic minority, religious minority, whatever, there's a sort of platinum tier of restricted truth around anything to do with those issues. And so our political class, even in the Conservative Party, people on the alleged right of British politics, even people like Jacob Rees-Mogg, are just terrified of going anywhere near these basic human, psychological and historical realities that you're talking about. How would you encourage our political class? Do we just need a new political class, or do you think that they can break through these taboos?
These problems that we are having, politics is not the way to solve them. So politics is downstream of culture, right? Unless you fix the culture, you're not going to get anything solved.
This is what I worry about, though, because I do think there's something about British culture which makes some of these problems, they're so unpalatable and so disgusting that like people can't stand to even talk about them. And if you can't speak about a problem and identify it, you can't possibly be fixing it.
It's true that there is something in the British character which lends itself to a certain amount of primness and properness, and like there's this fear that if you talk about this, cousin marriages, or if you talk about that, these are sort of low status things to talk about, like you
just a bit gross.
You out yourself as a sort of 21st century Julius Streicher. Like Julius Streicher was the Nazi who edited Der Stürmer and talked in the most pornographic terms about Jewish men raping German women and all that sort of thing. Like there's a fear that you're going to be pigeonholed as his reincarnation. So this is a huge problem, but whether we like minoritarianism, this sort of fetishization of minorities, is rotting our brains, and it's rotting our critical faculties. It's making us unable to engage in a renewal of Britain. And although I am sympathetic, I agree with you. I think Andrew Breitbart was right when he said that politics is downstream of culture. That does not mean that you cannot engage. You cannot use political power to try and recorrect.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that you cannot fix it with politics alone, because politicians come from a culture. They are not aliens. They come from the society that they are in. They are themselves a product of the environment. Right? If you don't have the right environment, you're going to get plastic politicians that we have right now. That they say who they are, but they're not really who they are.
And they melt when it gets hot.
And the thing is, they don't even know who they are. It's not their fault as well. Like they have no idea who they are. Right? They don't understand their own values.
I see. So you're saying, I understand what you're saying. You're saying that Britain needs to go through a cultural renewal before this can
exactly.
happen.
And you don't have to go into the depths of the problem to fix the problems as well, which are foreign to this country. All you have to do is eliminate foreign problems from the country, right? And you don't have to know what the hell is going on in Pakistan. Who the hell cares?
We shouldn't have to trouble ourselves with that sort of thing.
Exactly. We shouldn't have to. It's good to know once you have a huge population of them living over here and how to deal with them.
Yes.
You already put them in the mess, right?
Yes. The Home Office might need a department of Pakistani experts.
Well,
but the British citizen shouldn't have to be one.
Yeah, but they do.
Yeah, no, they will indeed, yeah.
They do, and they're working against Britain, right? That's the other problem that we have, that we're allowing other people...
Our own institutions to be subverted by these
we have so many people who's like, we're saying, okay, if you're from Commonwealth, you can work in civil service. Are you sure? Are you sure about that? Because most of the Commonwealth countries are there for economical reasons. They have a trade agreement, right? They don't hold any loyalty to Britain. Britain needs to... This is where I do agree with Peter Hitchens on that. Like, Britain has to come out of this mentality that we still have an empire.
Yeah. Maybe ask you one final question, maybe we can wrap up on this, is what do you think, because it's very interesting for me to talk to you as... remind me, you're not a British citizen yet.
I am.
You are now.
I've been for a while, yeah.
Okay. See, it's weird for me coming in as the non-Brit then, because I would say that you're much more British than I am, which there's a weird parallel. But what do you think would be the minimum requirements for an immigrant to become British?
No dual nationality. At all.
Okay.
It's written in the Bible as well. You cannot be loyal to two kings. Like, everyone has known this for a very long time. That and taking an oath and actually upholding that oath. You know.
And breaking that oath can be a condition of removal, I suppose. As well.
Should be a condition of removal.
English proficiency.
Well. That goes without saying, like, you know.
No, you got to spell it out. Like
these days, it doesn't.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, those things should be so much of a given that we shouldn't even be talking about them. Like, they should be that much of a given, right? And it's not as if like you exclude people, right? If you don't have, if you don't want to let go of your nationality, then there are other ways of where you can stay within Britain if you want.
You can be a guest worker or something like that. Yes.
If we talk about it from the other way around, right? If we want to go to live in Spain and work in Spain for 3 years, because this is something that Ben Habib talked about recently when he was talking with Peter, right? And I didn't agree with him when he said anyone who comes into Britain, they should be made to take an oath, have English proficiency. It's like, no, why are they coming over here? That's not the point of asking them those things, right? There should be a legitimate reason why they're coming over here. No illegals should be allowed anyways, right? If they're coming over here, they're coming for a job. They might be coming for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. That's the same as if we were going to Spain. Would you want British people to let go of their British nationality just because they were going for 3 years, have to speak Spanish, and have to adhere to their kings? And
I don't know, the Spanish might be actually a bit amenable to this at that point.
No, but the thing is, like, you're going over there for work, and this has always happened. You go to different countries to work for 5 years, whatever, and you have your loyalties to your own country. That's completely fine. The problem is when it comes to you trying to take the citizenship, right? Apply for the citizenship. That's where we have to draw the line. It's like, no, we have to stop giving our nationality like it's some sort of bloody Tesco club card that we just give it to anyone and everyone, right?
Just put your email down.
Yeah, exactly. 1,300 quid, pay 1,300 quid, do this test. One of the most easiest tests that I've ever done. I think so. I finished it. I took more time putting my things in their locker than doing the test. Like that's how quick I did that
See,
test.
I did the American test. It was actually quite hard.
Any test should be that hard. So my wife is from Poland, right? And she has not taken, she has been there for over 10 years. She has not taken British nationality because she's a very proud Pole. You know, why should she? But she's been given permanent residency, right? So she's living away, she respects the country, she loves the country and stuff. But when it comes down to it, she's a proud Polish person.
Yeah.
So I don't think so there's a problem when it comes to that sort of dealing, that we shouldn't make her be completely English, lose all her culture, everything. Yeah. That doesn't matter. It's just when she comes to get the nationality, then we should say, well, you have to be a national then.
Well, we should stop with the systematic devaluation of what it means to be British. But Mo, thank you so much for joining us on Deprogrammed. Evan, thanks as ever. You've been watching Deprogrammed. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment if you wish, and we shall see you on the next one.
Hello, if you're enjoying the New Culture Forum channel and you believe in our mission, may I invite you to join our membership scheme at the link below or on our website, newcultureforum.org.uk. Our work is more important now than ever, and we have great plans ahead for the future, but we can't do it without your support. From as little as £3 per month, you can help ensure that we continue on our mission. As a member, you'll receive a range of benefits, including access to exclusive content, invitations to our private events, including here at our studios, free copies of our books, and much, much more, including, of course, our famous NCF mug. If you aren't able to become a member, then please help us by clicking this button and subscribing to our channel. It's completely free. Just remember to also click the bell icon so that you can get notifications when we post new videos. Thank you.